Hi, this is Mrs. Fernandez, and I wanted to talk to you about creating your symbolic self-portrait, and in particular, creating a composition. So this will include creating some thumbnail sketches, and we're going to talk about how these surrealists use different principles, different elements to create their compositions. So you're going to, your targets are, I can create 3 thumbnail sketches with different compositions using visual symbols. So we'll talk a little bit more about thumbnail sketches, but you have created them before. Those are those very small sketches that you use to plan out what your final product will look like. And your second target will be, I can demonstrate the surreal elements of a dreamlike quality, juxtaposition, dislocation, and transformation or metamorphosis in my thumbnail sketch. And we're going to get into what those different elements are. So you've looked at that video about surrealism and that they have some different qualities, different elements that they use. So here's an example of dreamlike quality. So resembling a dream. Doesn't seem real, has a very dreamlike feel to it. So that's one element you're going to use in your drawings. Here's an example of juxtaposition, which is putting together crazy things that we wouldn't normally associate with one another. So a teacup that has fur on it. You can't really drink out of a teacup that has fur on it. And in this Frida Kahlo on the right, she's got a deer's head, deer's antlers, and her head on a deer's body. The next one is dislocation, taking objects from their usual locations and placing them in unusual ones, creating a sense of disbelief. So melting watches in the middle of a beach scene, and on the right, some very, very large objects in a room that's got walls of clouds. So they don't really fit together. And the last one is an example of transformation or metamorphosis. So transforming one item into a similar shape representing something else. This allows one meaning to be hidden behind the other. So in this image, you have feet, but then they are turning into a pair of boots. So you could have a dual meaning there. So your directions are to create 3 thumbnail sketches of different compositions for your final symbolic self-portrait. You should use the symbols that you already created in the last assignment. You should attempt to use the 4 elements of surrealism in your compositions. You're going to create 3 different thumbnail sketches for your compositions. And I always hear, I like what I have in the first one. That could be true, but if that's the case, you're going to take the same symbols and you're going to change the arrangement to create different composition and see if you can get more juxtaposition or transformation or any of those different elements that the surrealists use. Now remember, your thumbnail sketches should be in pen or pencil. They don't require any shading or color, and they should be small rectangles about the size of playing cards. And so I'm going to give you some student examples. So here are 3 good examples from one person of some different thumbnail sketches, and another set on the right. And on the next page, this is an example of a thumbnail size. So your thumbnail sketches should be about the size of a playing card. So here's a picture of a small playing card. This one's actually slightly smaller than a regular size playing card, but you can see my sketches are actually smaller than that. And that notebook or sketchbook is about half the size of a 9x12 piece of paper. And on the final slide, I've got my examples. So these are my sketches, and they're showing dislocation, transformation, and juxtaposition. All right, so each one is slightly different, but I have a lot of the same elements. So here you see the clock and the bird, and the flowers, the brush. And again, the flowers, the brush, clock. Now I have some different symbols on the second one, and on the third one I have the book, the eye, the brushes, the apples. And I've got it set in a scene on this one where these are more what's called a pastiche, where you're just putting the objects in random places. Actually, this one, Dislocation, is located on some branches. So the clock is on a branch and a bird on top of it, and the flowers are kind of floating, so that give that sense of dislocation. So I hope you enjoy this part of the assignment. So let's see what you come up with for your 3 sketches.